Hi there. Welcome to Teri's Doing It podcast. Last month, we talked with Timothea Workman. She's an award winning writer and photographer. She saw a need to strike out and express her creativity uniquely as a travel writer and a photographer. We called her approach boat building, launching a non traditional means to do something different and amazing. Today, I'm with two kindred spirits. With me are Jan and Tammy De, say it, please.
Weerd.
DeVeerd.
Yep.
Yes, I watched a video of you guys. What you weren't on it, but they were saying how to say your name and even how to spell your name. So I've been really doing my research.
That was really my only contribution to Tammy, to give her this wonderful last
Go
name.
on.
And
Well,
she
it's
was so
really
happy
nice.
with it that when she ran for mayor, she said, Jan, I'm going to drop your last name. It's going to be Mayor Tammy.
Yeah.
It worked really well. I also saw some interesting little clips about giggling when you called yourself Mayor Tammy.
Yes.
Why? Yeah, tell it. Since I brought that up, why did you giggle?
Because it sounded so formal, and I've never been into that pretense. And primarily, it was when I was leaving my voice message on my phone and had just gotten into office. So every time I tried to say, "Hi, you've reached Mayor Tammy DeVere," it was just like, okay, it's just Mayor Tammy.
Yeah, that works. That works.
Yeah.
Well, so back to the script, folks. With me today are Tammy and Jan DeVeerd. Theirs is the story of two really accomplished professionals who had separate careers for many years, one in agriculture and the other in politics and public service, who retired and combined their passions for agriculture and wines with family and travel. When they retired, they didn't just sail into the sunset, they built a speedboat and they're racing for it. Welcome, Jan and Tammy. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
You bet. Well, first off, an explanation. If you're not familiar with the podcast, Teri's Doing It isn't really about me. I like talking to passionate people who get out there and make things happen because they couldn't live with themselves if they didn't. Does that description fit both of you? Why or why not?
Well, that's a little extreme, I would think. But yeah, when I told people I was retiring from my last career with Weston, I said, don't think I'm going to be sitting in a rocking chair and petting the dog. I just, want to get a grip of my own time and go after in my next chapter over things I'm truly passionate about. And I think that really drives it. And I think that drives both of us and that fills our cup.
Yeah, it's important to live with a purpose.
Yeah.
And, both of us in our careers had a real meaningful purpose. And we didn't see that change when we stepped out of our ruled by our calendar jobs to where now we're in charge of our own.
Nice. Well, I'm actually have just announced my retirement from my part-time job. I retired from a full-time job, and so come about July 1st, I'll be going through that transition again. It's lots of fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. Jan, this is the first time you and I are meeting. Tammy and I have gotten to know each other in local government throughout the years. I want to know more about you. These are the things I know right now. You grew up on a potato farm in Holland,
Yeah, correct.
and you got your PhD from WSU, Washington State University, in horticulture.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask you about that. Tammy, did you go to U of I, University of Idaho?
I took classes at both U of I and at WSU, but I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't get a degree.
well, always the diplomat, because I'm aware that there's a little bit of rivalry between the two universities. So that probably was a good
Yeah,
thing.
but the good part was when I was at WazU at Washington State University, she was working there. And as you said, indeed, in potatoes, right? And, you know, I always kind of joke around with people. I mean, really, if studying potatoes, you know, after a while, your eyes start to wander a little bit. And here, all of a sudden, she showed up
And she was a hot potato, right?
from Idaho. Hey.
Yay.
Idaho spud.
Yeah. Well, what year did you retire?
Oh, I just retired from my position, my job at Weston. That was August a year ago in 22.
So there's a lot of space between your graduate degree and your retirement. We'll get to that. But I found a clip of you that I thought was so excellent, and I'd just like to show it to everybody. Let's do that now, shall we?
Yep.
We're out of hash browns. Oh no, we need some Lamb Weston hash browns. Where are we gonna get them? We gotta make a run for it fast. Oh. A cobra. That's what we're gonna take. Only the best for the best. Yes.
Oh, awesome! You got him.
All right, we're done.
Awesome. Let's start
Weston.
cooking. Very important. You get a nice single layer, so we can make them. You can sear them on both sides and get it nice and crispy. Dennis, fantastic, great, incredible speed. Only the best for the best. Idaho potato.
So I also found a quote, and I think you said it, but I'm not sure. So you tell me. Potatoes make French fries, chips, and vodka. It's like the other vegetables aren't even trying. Did you make that up?
No, for sure not. I wish I had that kind of creativity, but I saw it and I could so relate to that. No, not only that, it was just such a great way to express my passion for potatoes. And as you already mentioned earlier, I grew up on a potato farm. I studied potatoes. I went across the world, you know, to advance that further at Washington State University. And then really my career all along has been in potatoes. So really when people ask me, you know, and as soon as they hear me talking, they detect this accent and they ask, wow, what brought you to Idaho? And I tell them, okay, you only have one guess and you can only use one word, but what comes to mind, you know? And so it is potatoes.
Yeah.
And so, that really, it's a very special crop. It's an intriguing crop, not only from the technical and the growing side, but also from the business side. And when you grow up on the farm, you know, you have this intermix of technical questions of how much to use and when to plant and when to do this and when to do that. But every time you ask that question, the flip side of that, how will that impact the business prospect, right? The cost, will it help or will it hurt? And so growing up as a kid in that environment and working on your farm and seeing your family dealing with that and then becoming ultimately part of that, I took that along in my studies and later on in my career, where I worked for Monsanto for almost 10 years, trying to really make an improvement in this world by using genetics. And at that time, the whole dubbed GMO genetics around potatoes to really make smart crops, you know, crops that could sustain in the environment where they were grown without having to spray, without having to do all these artificial things that you need to do today to grow a crop, to make these crop more resilient and smarter. But then that whole roller coaster ride came to a huge screeching end at the end when the society just wasn't ready for that kind of revolutionary technology. And then I had my own business for about 10 years, centered around potatoes as well, in business development, in technical development, and all that. And then my last 14 years, I put all that experience and knowledge together in my ag, strategy job for Weston.
Interesting. So I'll take you back to the first thing you said, which was that you're passionate about potatoes. Can you tell me in a sentence or two why are you passionate about potatoes?
Because it is a challenging crop. It's maybe one of the most challenging crop. It's one of the crop that requires more investment per acre than most any other crop, and it makes just a wonderful product. It
Yeah.
makes fries. And
Yeah.
when I came to the United States and I got to eat that first piping hot French fry from McDonald's and dipping it in real ketchup, I was hooked.
Uh,
So not only it was challenging from a mental perspective, but I just loved the product.
mm. Well, so if you had to give me the top three accomplishments in your illustrious career, what would those be?
I think really advancing the industry across the world. Working with a team of people to really make this a sustainable crop that provides a good income for growers, a reliable income for growers, but also in a way that you get continuously better, more efficient, more productive, and in a sustainable way that helps the environment to sustain and helps to really have this a nutritious crop that can be grown, in years to come.
How many varieties, different varieties of potatoes are there in the world anyway?
Well, that's technically to answer that over 4,000. But
Wow.
if you really look at the predominant varieties that are used, let's say in the processing industry, there's maybe 10, and
Huh.
that's about it. And on the fresh side, maybe twice as much. So this is really not even an 80-20 rule. This is more like a 95-5 rule.
Wow. So, okay, so now let's transition to Tammy, but first tell me how you met her and how you ended up in Meridian.
I alluded to that a little bit. I was studying at Washington State University, right? Potatoes, right? This brown little round thing. So she was working at Washington State University, and when I first saw her at this party, and I learned at the university they have parties every weekend, and I always had some theme, and it was really easy to organize a party. But there I saw her in her at that time, blonde hair, blue eyes, blue jeans. I mean, it represented just this beautiful Western lady, and I was so struck. We didn't even talk with each other that first time, but there was a connection, and we got together again and again, and finally we started to go out.
Did he catch your eye too, Tammy?
Oh yeah, he caught every girl's eye that was there, which is probably why I kept my distance. Um, his accent, his eyes, and so yeah, I was smitten.
Ah, well, so I understand you are a fourth generation Idahoan.
Yes.
Yeah, were you born in Moscow?
No, I was born in Boise. In
Oh,
fact, I did full circle. I had my last child, my youngest, the same hospital I was born in.
oh, nice. So you
Yeah.
were up at working at Wazoo or U of I?
Yes. My parents, both my parents were born in Pocatello, but my mom grew up here in Boise. They met at Idaho State University, and my dad was a coach and teacher at Bora High School when it first opened up. Eventually, he left to uh, continue coaching, and he landed in Moscow to sell insurance and to help with the University of Idaho's football team.
Nice. So your roots really go deep here in this Treasure Valley.
It runs deep, although I was born in Boise, but I moved away when I was young, before I started elementary school. So I was basically raised in Moscow.
How, how did you get from Moscow back down to Boise then?
Jan and I, we married in 1988, and that's when he completed his doctorate. Well, he completed his doctorate in 92, and his job took us down here, and we found a home in Meridian. We loved the school district, and we wanted something that was that education aspect was good, was important for our kids.
Was the job with the city of Meridian as Parks Director your first job when you got back to Boise?
Actually, I wasn't the parks director.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Started as a volunteer with kind of an ad hoc committee that was, in essence, the parks department, a group of citizens, and then they officially formed a commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Parks Department at the time was under the Public Works Department, and they hired their first director. We helped them hire their first director as the Parks Commission, and it kind of went from there.
Well, I'm not ever going to totally trust anything I find on the internet anymore. But I think this may be true that since, let me see, 1903, you were Meridian's only female mayor. Is that right?
Well, 1903 is a stretch because I'm not male.
I can't believe anything. Oh my God.
But I was elected in 2003 and started my service in 2004. And yes, I was the first elected mayor that was a female, as well as myself and another city council member. We were the first elected women on city council as well. And at that time, I was known as the Parks Lady because really that is how I got involved with the city. Parks were really important in my upbringing when I grew up in Moscow. And when we moved down here, we only had one park. And it was important for me to have that same experience for our kids. And so I got involved in the community to find ways that we could bring parks to Meridian.
And that kind of gets to your theme here, Teri, because you know Tammy.
Right.
And when she sees something that isn't right or could be better, she's not one that sits back and whines about it. She's one that rolls up her sleeve and gets involved. And so, yeah, my job took me here because, hey, Idaho potatoes, we explained that. And she was at that time raising a very young family with, 4 young kids, and they needed park space. And there wasn't any park space here in Meridian. There was just lots of space for building houses. And so she got engaged and basically high-stepped to the mayor and tried to work there with City Hall at that time to make a difference.
The thing that I, as a woman, that I really appreciate about Tammy's approach is that I've heard you say that you want to be known as a competent mayor, not as a female mayor. And I think that's really what all of us should strive for, is just to be competent, productive citizens and not male or female. But yeah, so kudos.
Well, it's important to be a good human being, but I think it was also recognized. I got a note card from a competitive woman bodybuilder, and she competed on the world's scene or world stage. And she wrote me a note after she got a congratulation card from me, and she said, I was showing my kids the note from you, and they were so surprised that a woman was the mayor. And she said, it never occurred to me as a woman in a non-traditional sport as well, that I needed to raise the awareness to my kids that women are not restricted based on their gender. It was really on their frame of mind. And that always held a little space there, and we can't take that for granted. We need to make sure that our girls, and I have three of the four children that we have are girls, that they're not limited by their gender, that they
Absolutely.
really are capable based on their attitude and aptitude and drive.
Well, we could talk about your accomplishments for a long time, but I do have a clip that I'm going to show in a minute. But first, when we had coffee a couple of weeks ago at the Village, which is a large, beautiful, developed shopping center that you had a major hand in bringing to fruition, and I asked you how it felt to walk into a place that was there because, in part, you were there. Can you remind me what you said?
I think I remember this every single time I go out there. Just the complete, utter joy we felt when we were sitting there out on this deck and watching the fountain synchronized to music, and just thinking we're in the busiest intersection in the state of Idaho. This is Meridian, and it was like this retreat from the real world into this fanciful, beautiful place. And it was in Meridian. That was a proud moment.
Well, I won't belabor it, but I do remember Meridian being named the most livable city at one point. I do remember hearing that you took it from 10,000 population to over 100. So certainly there's lots we could talk about, but there's more we want to talk about. So I'll save that for the clip. Have you both seen the movie Golda, about Golda Meir?
No.
In that movie, there's a really interesting quote that I bought when she said it. She's talking to the young Ariel Sharon, and she said, "Every political career ends in failure." Well, that's not true. And so let's watch this clip and see how failed your administration was or wasn't.
This is the 16th State of the City address from Meridian Mayor Tammy Weerd. Now, a final curtain call to the theme of musical blockbuster Greatest Showman.
My what's next is, as the Greatest Showman said in the final scene, I'm going to watch my girls grow up. So true. It's time for my family.
The mother of four says this decision is sparked by one reason in particular.
I lost my dad last fall, and I kind of had an awakening.
Now, she says she's rethinking her priorities.
And family is important, and I have a grandbaby on the way, and I haven't been able to really get to know my other grandchildren like I'd like to. So it's time to focus on my family.
But those aren't the only priorities she's rethinking. She now has 10 months to get done what she hopes to achieve.
I've had to prioritize my list.
Some of these, she says, include roads and schools, preserving open space, and development.
I would like to see a couple of the projects we've been working with realized in our downtown, or at least starting.
Her chief of staff says these are the very projects that have kept Mayor Tammy tethered to her duties all these years.
You're always working, weekends, evenings, early mornings, so it's time for her to enjoy her life.
And while it's family she looks to spend more time with, she's optimistic about the other family she leaves behind.
That's kind of bittersweet. So what does the mayor really, she focuses on certain projects that she wants to get done before she leaves?
Absolutely, yeah. She says she's looking at striking that balance of preserving and defining open space to Meridian citizens amid all this recent growth, so they can develop in the ways that citizens prefer to.
Well, she'll be missed. All right. Thanks, Madeline.
So Tammy, you lost your father right before you retired, and you said that you were retiring to watch your girls grow up and it was time for your family. How has it felt to you to be there for them?
It's been a real special time. It did not, I don't think we missed a beat when I stepped out of office. It was stepping out of office on my own terms. And it was a nice time to reconnect with my family that I understand had a lot of sacrifice, the giving their mom's time to the community because we were a 24/7 position. But also, it was something that my kids understood what community was all about and how important it was to be part of a solution when you saw an issue. So it was kind of one of their civic responsibilities. And I feel like we raised some great citizens that understand more about the community that surrounds them. And yeah, reconnecting with my kids, my grandkids, and my husband um, was very special. It's a great new chapter.
Well, it seems it's also has been a metamorphosis of two separate and distinct passions becoming one. And so in a way you've sort of married your passions for this part of your life. And I think that's what's so excited about your launch into spoken wines. Um, Talk about the process of deciding to start that. Do you call it a business? Do you call it uh, a labor of love? What do you call spoken wines?
Well, it is
All the above.
all the above. It's in development. So really, what drove it was we've been enamored with wine for a long time, and when we finally had vacation, a week here, a week there, we basically traveled to some wine region around the world. And we just dug in there. Like I vividly remember when we first ever set foot in Italy, we went just to Tuscany for 10 days. And when we came back, people asked, wow, did you go to Rome? Nope. Well, did you go to Venice? No. Well, at least Florence. And no, we just were right there in the Chianti area for 5 days, north of Siena. And then we moved the whole 50 kilometers south of Siena, and we stayed in the Brunello and Monteciano area just to get to know the winemakers, the wine region, and to just, learn and experience that wine region. And with that, yes, it's wine, and we're passionate about wine. We love wine, but wine is so much more, and you've seen that in some of the videos. Wine connects. And as you probably have kind of sensed now, we're both people. Tammy very much so in our community. And for us, when we travel, we both want to connect with cultures and with people. And in that whole setting around a winery and wine, where there's generally a small family business, tolling, working the land, putting everything they got into that vineyard and making then this wonderful product, this wonderful wine out of that they not only express themselves, who they are as people and their belief systems, it expresses the soil that they worked on, it expresses the predecessors that were there.
So it's more than liquid in a bottle.
Yes.
It's life in a glass. And that's life in a glass is a quote from a wine grower that we got to interview in South Africa in Paarl. And he just really was able to totally put his hands around our passion. It's life in a glass.
That's really a special way to think about it and to communicate the value of wine. I think it's really underrated. It's a party, I don't know what you enhancer, but really wine is so much more.
Yeah, it connects people. And therefore, going back to your question, today we're starting that up. And today it is a passion project. It very much is a passion product. but we stand with both feet on the ground. It has to be sustainable and also economically sustainable. So we pour it into a business format, and we're setting it up as such that it can grow as such self-sustainably, and that it becomes a viable business.
I don't see anything like it out there on the market. So explain your business model if it's not protected trade secrets.
No, I think starting out, we're wine storytellers, and we hope that the wines that we have a preference to, it really replaces that wall of wine shock, so that people can buy with confidence if they like the wines that we enjoy. They can purchase those bottles with confidence that they'll enjoy them as well. So we do affiliate sales. Jan and I, as we travel the different wine regions, do spend a lot of time finding the right wines. It can't be just a great wine with no good story. Can't be just a compelling story without a really amazing wine. It has to be both. And we have to be satisfied with that. And then then we approach the winery and say we'd like to do this with them. Jan has been spending a lot of time figuring out the importing aspect of it, how to get the wine to your home so that they can experience that wine themselves. But it's not just experiencing wine, it's being able to share the story too.
Yeah, so how it then works is we don't buy and sell wine. We tell the story. We lift up these experiences that we have to our followers. And if you have a good wine and now you get the context and the story behind it, Teri, that wine tastes better. Mm-hmm. Believe me, it really does. So what we're doing is we're telling the story, around the place where that wine is produced, the people behind it, and their belief system, culture. So we bring up that story, and then we want to bring that experience that we had there by traveling there to the people that follow us. Well, how can they get that if they can actually get access to that wine? So from our YouTube video, we link people to our website, and then wherever people are in the world, if they want a particular wine that we talked about and say, oh, I want to experience that for myself, or I have a dinner party coming up, I want to share that with my friends or family, they can then go on our website and click on the country that they're at, and then that will automatically link them to an online wine store where they can order and will deliver the wine to their doorstep, right?
Great.
And then so the business model behind it underneath is that when we guide traffic from our website to the online web store, wine store site, we get a commission and an affiliate percentage of that to support our business.
Which then enables you to go back out and find more wonderful stories.
Exactly. So that's how we build the business. And just the affiliate side of things is not enough. But we, in the meantime, really build this YouTube channel. And this YouTube channel is all about, sharing that wonderful experience around the world, sharing that people, wherever they're in the world, doesn't matter how they look, how they dress, or how they are, you peel those layers away and you see these beautiful people behind it. That's what we want to share around this theme of this wonderful product that they make, the wine, and how they express them in that wine. And now you can experience it at their home. That is really our purpose of our business. That is our mission.
And so ancillary to that is, we do hope to build a following and, make this something that also on the social media platforms that you have some influences and some income from that. But ultimately, we do hope that you have travel areas that approach us and say, we'd love to get your recommendations and maybe even spoken wine tours. Not that we do, but we partner with existing travel entities that would like to use our knowledge and experience and get people to the right places that they're going to be inspired by, and they will know that they'll enjoy that wine.
Yeah.
I think there's a market for that. And this is exactly what Timothy and I were talking about, building a new boat. It's the old ways of doing things are fine and they work for some people. But there are those of us who say, I need to start a podcast, or I need to do this, or I need spoken wines. Let's take a little break right now. Give me the website address so that folks can multitask and go check it out.
Excellent. It's www.spokenwines.com.
Thank you. We're going to watch a video from your website now. It does a really good job of communicating not just the passion of the storyteller, but also of the wine grower and the winemaker. And so let's stop and watch that right now. It's really a lovely video.
Hi everyone, I'm Edward Peterson, the wine grower at Belafonte. A wine grower grows wine. He focused on producing the best berries possible to make the best wines in the world. Vines are very special. They are like human. You can put them everywhere at any place. And depending on how you nurture them, they will just give you what you give them, they will give you. Vines has their own personalities. Each vine behaves different versus the other, depending on the terroir into these ancient soils where they are planted or where they found themselves. And based on that, I have to understand the vine and sort of do what is necessary for that particular vine individually. These soils are alive, and soils themselves, they tell their story through the behavior of the vine. And to get the ancient soil and the vine to sort of collaborate and working together, I use all of these techniques and skills to sort of trying to understand what needs to be done when and how. Through the year, you have all these sequences that the vine are going through the phenology stages. And each phenology stage there's a time frame on that. And it's very important that we capture every moment of that time. It's like a relationship. And with that, we sort of trying to manage having enough clusters, but having these small berries that hangs on these clusters. And that's pretty much our focus, is to see that we have the balance within the vine, within the cluster, and that is our focus point.
Hi, I'm Tammy.
And I'm Jan.
And we are Spoken Wines.
Well, here we have the elusive series M and C from the ancient soils of a place far away in the land called Parle. Well, these two distinct Bordeaux-style wines were made from super small berries, concentrated, that had to work really hard to get these ancient soils to release their gift. Really, these wines are made with precision and perfection, rarely seen anywhere else.
After you listen to Ed, the wine grower, you just want to hug a bottle and feel his love. I mean, Ed has such passion, care, and intimate connection with the soil and the vines and the berries he grows. And that love you'll find back in this wine. With each sip, you can sense that journey, that struggle, and that compassion.
The Series M is super smooth and extremely well balanced with this concentrated dark fruit. It can easily be drank just on its own and be your meal for the day.
Yes.
It brings this tension that once it hits the palate, it gets released and it feels like a long-awaited hug. Now, the cab-driven Series C is a different story. It has serious power and not for the faint of heart. It's well-structured, potent, deeply penetrating, and lingering on the finish forever. Serve it with your best cut of meat, but not too lean.
And then seriously, the Seriously Old Dirt is a budget-friendly alternative that is still a major overachiever for its price. It is an easy, accessible Bordeaux blend with lots of flavor. In fact, we had it with a simple mushroom soup, and immediately it made it a culinary event.
Yeah, it sure did.
These are some very high-quality wines. Recently, they won outright the Bordeaux red wine category in the International Wine and Spirits Challenge, and the 2019 Series C won Best in Class in the Six Nations Challenge. Their wine club membership is now on a waiting list, but the good news is you can click on the link below to assess these wonderful wines yourself.
Yeah. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can join us on our next journey finding exhilarating wines like these with just incredible stories from around the world.
Yes, we're Spoken Wines.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, I understand it's a family business, and so you have at least two daughters who live internationally.
Yes.
Is one in South Africa?
Cape Town, South Africa, and the other one is in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And the four of us, we talk weekly, and everyone brings a different wine preference and a different skill set to the team. And we have a non-family team member as well. And he is our art director, and he's also out of Cape Town.
Excellent. So I did read also, Jan, that you said some of the best wines produced in the same regions where you grow some of the best potatoes. Do they grow potatoes there? And is that how you choose your wines?
No.
You know, wine and French fries actually go quite well together. But that's true, because really a good potato for making French fries is a potato that has to be high in starch, right? To really get this nice, fluffy interior texture and this crispy outside texture. Well, that kind of climatic condition works really well for these red varieties that are made to make that intense wine that you can store for a longer period of time. They both need lots of sunshine. They need good day temperatures and low night temperatures, especially around time of maturity and harvest. Both potatoes and grapes need that to really produce a high quality product. And so, yes, you do find in these areas where you can grow very good potatoes for fries, they can also, it's also conducive for growing very high quality grapes.
So when you talk about terroir and the diurnal aspects of the weather, all of these different things, the soil types, it's so similar, yet there are differences. Yeah, but as you can see, he gets totally passionate about it. And when we go on a wine tasting, Teri, it is not a 30-minute exercise. We're there for a couple hours, tasting the same amount of wine that everyone else does, but really trying to drill down and understand their stories, understand the growing challenges, understanding their triumphs and trials.
Yeah, so this horticulture degree from Washington State University is paying off there, because really any winemaker would tell you the wine is made in the vineyard. Mm-hmm. You know, the rest is all about managing and maintaining that quality that you got in that grape when you harvested it. And so the whole growing aspect, the viticulture in this case, the agronomy behind it is so critical to really produce a high quality grape.
While we were watching the video, we were chatting, and you told me this story about Edward Peterson, And I'd like you to repeat that for the listeners now because it's a pretty great story.
Okay. So Ed Peterson is, and he will correct you because I asked him, okay, so you're the viticulturist? He said, no, 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 no. I am the wine grower. And because he is so passionate in everything that he does here, everything is for the purpose to grow that perfect berry that he says, that grape, to make that excellent wine. And so I was talking about these ancient soils where he has planted these vines, and then he is managing these vines to grow these high quality grapes, which is a challenge because ancient soils are very healthy in nature, but nutritionally poor. And so when you plant vines in those soils, those roots need to go super deep to really find that energy and that nutrition to produce these quality grapes. And Ed has to just work with these vines, and these vines have to work super hard to get these soils to release their gift. And he talks about how he does that with such great passion and care for these vines. He has 96,000 vines there. And
I think he almost knows every single one by name.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what it takes to really produce a high quality product. And by the way, that same trait you'll find back in potato growers too that produce a very high quality potato.
Sure. Well, so is he working on being a soil whisperer? Is he working on his soil health? Or is he just really feeling that he's getting the most out of using the soil that he has, producing the wine that he gets?
Yeah, I would, if you want to use the word whisperer, I would say he's a vine whisperer, the vine to grow, but it's
a vine hugger.
It is indeed all about the soil. You got to have a healthy soil, and not only a soil that is healthy that season, but that sustainably and continues to improve over time. So yes, he's all about that. And then you have to deal with the season at hand, right? And in agriculture, there's no season the same. So you have to be able to turn on the dime and recognize what you're dealing with, and then apply the right applications and methods to guide that vine through the season to still get to that high quality product.
Have you? I know that you've got two wines and stories that you tell from South Africa. What other regions are you looking toward in the future?
Well, we just got back from a 4.5-month trip in South Africa, but also in Australia, which has a number of different regions within that have totally different wines in each of the regions. But we also traveled last year to Mexico. We will be traveling this spring to Italy and Argentina. Actually, when I retired, we were almost a month in Argentina.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yes.
And was very jealous.
But Teri, we also travel to our own backyard. So our next video that will come up will actually be about just a wonderful winery in our own Idaho.
In our own backyard. And,
interesting.
So both Idaho, we'll be working with a couple of Idaho wineries, but also in the Walla Walla area, which is one of our favorites as well.
When my husband and I got married in 1982, we moved to Spokane, and he got a job working for, I don't think it's around anymore. There were 3 wineries in Washington State at that point, and it was called Worden's Winery in Spokane. And then we worked also for Hogue Cellars down in the Prosser area. So I'm sure those are going to be lovely videos, and I can't wait to see them as well. Will you also handle them as a business as well, or will they do
in the same format? We highlight the winery, we tell the story, and then give people around the world a chance to get that experience for themselves by linking them to an online store that sells that wine in their region.
But also a little bit different because it's right here at home and in our backyard. we're partnering with Boise Co-op and Hell's Canyon Winery to have kind of a release day at the Meridian Boise Co-op and bring people together to see the video release, to taste some of the wine, and really have a chance to have that interaction and make it more of an intimate experience.
Well, I am on your newsletter list, so I will definitely be there. I'm looking forward to that. Where do you see this all going? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal for 10, 20 years from now?
You know, personally, I would like it to be something that is sustainable, that it's a business that our girls could take it on and make a good living. And really, one of the first things that we really expressed is people for centuries have been coming around the table, connecting over food. And we think an important ingredient to that is the beverage, and that's the wine that pairs with that food. We would love to see people across the globe coming together over good food and good wine, and ultimately experiencing these different cultures that I think bring down barriers that we need to do as a world to find better peace, to understand. And we think that this is a great way of doing it, is by understanding different cultures, different people and places, that you can start finding common ground and more resilience and tolerance of each other.
Yeah.
I love your. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So we want to connect the family that makes the wine with the family that drinks the wine.
Mm.
And wine connects. Wine stimulates communication.
Yes.
And once people start talking and listening to each other, barriers come down, and there's going to be better understanding among each other. And if we can do our little part on that through our passion to help with that, that is where our long-term heart is at.
I love your values, which are reflected in various places on your website, your people, places, and cultures. And that just really sums up those values. You've both been really true to following your dreams while staying true to your values. I know that after watching Mayor Tammy for years as she operated with a sometimes unwieldy system. You're doing that. You're still living that. What would you say to the person who may have had a successful career but yearns to do something meaningful with their life, to step out and make a difference, or whatever it is? What would you say to them to encourage them to take the step?
Well, I've always talked about living your passion. And I think that that's what Jen and I are doing, is we're we lived our passion in our careers, and we're continuing that in what we're doing together, traveling and finding that next great wine with a compelling story that we can share and get people enthusiastic, and know again that there's more than just liquid in a bottle. There's life in a glass, and there's so much behind that.
Well, this has been a real pleasure for me. I'm sorry that it's over, but once again, I want to remind people, www.spokenwines.com. Jan and Tammy, you guys exemplify the spirit of carpe diem. I think you are two people who go out and seize the day. You've
like
inspired, huh?
Just like you.
Oh, it takes one to know one, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asked me one time, what do you want on your gravestone? And I said, she got a lot done. I think maybe you might like that one too. Where was I? I just really appreciate this time that you've spent with me. And I hope that people will go to your website, learn more about these wines, learn more about the two of you. You're pretty amazing people. And I have been thinking I should have had one of your wines in my hand the whole time we were talking.
Us too.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us? It's 5 o'clock now.
That was it. You started at 4.
Yeah. Well, thank you for helping me see that this is another way that you do it. Thank you for modeling the way to pursue passions as individuals, as a couple, a family, and outstanding citizens of the planet. This is terrific. And thank you for being on Teri's Doing It.
Thank you,
You're
Teri.
welcome. It was a pleasure.
Mine too. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.